All right, here we go. Another Heart Dealer podcast, this time with Tommy D. Is it Dorfman? How do you pronounce the last name?
It's Dorfman, but it's only really used in the legal process against Live Nation. I'm known as Tommy D by everybody through the cool club industry, through the nation.
Amazing. Tommy, you hit me up on LinkedIn, and I remember like checking out some of your shares. I was like, oh man, this guy sounds like he's embroiled in some heaviness. We had an initial convo, and then finally we're chatting here today. Um, Live Nation lawsuit. You've obviously talked about this quite a bit, but why don't we talk about like, who is Tommy D and how did he get here? Who is little Tommy and how did he fall in love with music? You're born in Jersey, I believe. Is that where you grew up?
Yep, born out of Jersey, straight out of New Jersey.
So what's the story, man? Like family that you were born into, what's your situation?
Yeah, so I was born into a family, and my father was a big inspiration in my life, and my dad loved music. My sister, Colleen, too, she loved music too. So my dad used to take us to concerts all the time. We were going to Bruce Springsteen, Michael Jackson. We went down in Philadelphia. I don't remember which one, but one of the brothers was at the hotel, a Hilton hotel, was playing the piano in there. It was really cool. I think Matito or one of those guys went to concerts down there. Bon Jovi concerts, you name it, across Def Leppard with the dude with I had the one arm with the drums, rocking it. Um, all different genres of music. So my dad really got me into music. He loved music, and he got me passionate about his music as a kid.
Nice. I remember that when we first chatted, like you and I both were like, yeah, I love Tupac. But a lot of your career has been in and around electronic or EDM. So what was your, path, your musical discovery path?
Yeah, my musical discovery path's pretty funny actually, because when people hit me up and they're like, "Who's your favorite?" I'll go to like some of my employees ever, and I'll be like, ask them like, "If you could pick my two favorite artists, I'll give you $1,000." I don't have $1,000, but I'll tell them, and they'll never get it because it's Tupac and Bon Jovi. But so I was in all different genres of music. I love all different kinds of music. Tupac is my favorite, as we spoke about it. But starting off in business for me, it wasn't really a business. My mom had remarried. Kind of been on my own since I was like 13 something, pretty much, but lived on my own houses when I was 16 years old. And at that time, house music, which became EDM,
Right.
before it was cool, which was really popular. And that's kind of the parties I threw at my houses to pay the rent, to pay the bills, to survive, because it was what's cool then. So that's actually how I got into house music. It wasn't in the beginning because I had a passion for it. It was because it was what was cool at the time.
Yeah. So like what age roughly did you start throwing these parties and how, I mean, you said that house music was cool and whatnot, but how did you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. This makes sense, and I can generate some revenue and pay for my livelihood that way.
15, 16 years old. My mom had remarried. It didn't work out so well. So I was out on my own. So renting houses, you got to pay for it. So at that time, people were listening to, at least the crowd I was chilling with, they were listening to house music. So I'd bring in DJs, friends of mine, they perform for free, DJ for free, and we'd rock out house parties, sometimes in hundreds, sometimes up to even 800, 1,000 people in a house. It was pretty crazy, pretty wild, but that's how I got into the industry, and that's how I actually got into the scene.
So
Not
hold
by
on.
choice, by force.
Yeah, fair. But you were 15, 16 when that happened, when you were doing these events?
Yeah.
That's
Not
crazy. I mean,
events, house parties, yeah.
yeah. I mean, when I was 15 or 16, I think I was still like, watching He-Man and drinking milk. I didn't I didn't have the ability to throw house parties at that time. Uh it's crazy how things happen to us at different times, and then like you said, out of necessity, you just kind of like pushed into something, pushed into a path almost. Um you mentioned like rock and then obviously Tupac. Where along the journey did you discover his music or hip hop versus rock and roll before you got into EDM?
Yeah, so even when I was into EDM, Tupac was a big inspiration for me. Um, Me Against the World, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Tupac was a huge inspiration. I listened to his music all the time, every day, rocking my car up and down the street with the sound systems used to have, you know what I mean? Probably not
Yeah.
cool these days. Huge inspiration in my life was Tupac Shakur. Yeah. It still is to this day.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it is considering, how much you have going on and the battle that you're dealing with and how long it's been going on. The tenacity to kind of keep going with that is not something that everyone has. I can definitely see the inspiration. So you're like 15, 16 years old. Are you still in high school? Did you drop out? And like how did that first party happen? Did you say like was it accidental and then you said afterwards that was good, we should do it again? Or did you go into it knowing what you want to do?
Well, I actually threw parties. The first time I was on in with it, I actually threw parties when I was 13 years old on the beaches of Wildwood, New Jersey. I got kegs from bartenders because I kind of lived them. I had a family, but I was kind of on my own at the time, at the same way. And I actually threw parties on Wildwood beaches, $5 a cup if it was a pretty girl, free, and did pretty well, making some pretty good money down there. That's how I actually first got into it.
That's crazy. How does a 13-year-old get a keg?
The bartenders liked me. I mean, not the bartenders, the lifeguards. The lifeguards on the Jersey Shore beach liked me, and they let me hang out and party with them, and then they bought me kegs, and that's how it worked. That was my
That's
first parties.
that's amazing. So, how did you transition from, like, doing these house events where it's at your house, literally, at home to, your first event that wasn't there, which led to clubs and larger events?
Yeah, so the house parties, if you went to house parties back in the day, a lot of trouble comes with it too, you know?
Mm,
So I'd get kicked out house to house with these parties. I probably went through like 13, 14 houses throwing these huge parties and getting kicked out. Um, and then I realized I was bringing people to like New York City clubs back in the day from these house parties, like to like the Limelight, Carbon, Tunnel, some iconic legendary clubs, and I'd bring in like 200 people with me from one of my parties, and they'd give me like $1 a head or something on a guest list with it. And then I was like, well, you know what? I can make. I'm pretty good at this. I think I can make a living off this, and I like it. I like dealing with people, and I love music. So in my head, there, I was like, I wanna create a club business. And I remember even speaking to my family about it and stuff, and they're like, go to college, and I was like, no. And they all looked at me like I'm crazy, 10 eyes. And I was like, no, I'm gonna create a club empire. So I was starting to get into the club business, trying to produce my own event. Then at that time, I had a tragedy hit me. I was at a house party, not mine, and I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Somebody ran up with from about 100 feet behind me and smashed my head in with a gallon of vodka from behind. Never saw it coming, and I had a fractured skull, and I should have probably died. I had a 1% chance of living. Um, I survived. Um, I was left 80% blind at the time with a lot of troubles, obviously, you know. Went to a rehabilitation center, cancer rehabilitation. God bless you. Thank you. Saved my life out of New Jersey at the time. Dr. Fells, the man. Um, that's where I was at. But, I was in there. They told me I'd be permanently disabled. They told me I would never succeed. They told me that I'd be on permanent disability. Um, I wasn't going to take that as an answer. So I walked out of that hospital, um, the rehab. I didn't finish it. Um, and I started promoting club parties. And within 6 months of working 20 hours a day, my vision came back and everything mostly, you know what I mean? So it's cool.
uh-huh.
Different parts of your brain work and catch up, you know? Um, Within 6, 7 months, I ended up throwing my first like successful solo party, a Wednesday night party, doing over like 1,500 people on a Wednesday night, which I got because nobody did Wednesday night parties at that time. So no promoters were, it was pretty easy to get a Wednesday night and a mob owner boss. And he still gave it to me because nobody wanted it.
Man,
But after that's how I got into the business.
that's wild. So how old were you when this accident happened?
I think it's around like 19 years old about the time, I believe.
That's wild. So, like, from the time you're throwing parties to then, it's like half a decade, not even that long. Do you know, like, who did it or why it happened? Was it related to the events or just random?
There was a rumble at the place. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's what happened from behind.
Yeah,
Um, that's all it really was. But it is what it is. I moved forward. Um, I didn't take the answer from the doctors that I would could do nothing with my life, and
yeah,
I came out and started packing clubs. And this is something that, like, until recent times, I've never shared. My assistant in my company right now. Um, She's really awesome, but I always hid this through the whole all my years, 15 years through the club years. My back of my head right here, the scar. Everyone, I would tell them it was a design. I never let anybody know that I had a head injury. I never let one person know because I figured people would use this as a weakness on me and take advantage of me. Maybe looking at Pox, it was. Um, but in recent times, and it was something I never talked about through all my years. No one knew. Um, she just said, "This is a strength of yours, not a weakness, and it's something you should share." So I took her advice and I've kicked it out once or twice, but it's something I'm just getting used to talking about, to be realistic with you.
well, that's amazing. That's literally what this whole podcast is all about, is about sharing, confronting, who we are, and hopefully forging a good path forward or a better path forward, maybe inspiring other people to do the same. So, you shared. Now, who helped you start to talk about that? Um, how does it feel? I mean, does it still feel a little weird talking about it? Do you start feeling a little bit more liberated?
I'll be realistic. It feels a little weird because it's something I hid. By the time that head injury started, and I started in the club industry, 15 years of success,
Yeah.
massive success, no one knew. After
Mm.
that, add on all the years of my Live Nation litigation, no one knew. So there's only a handful of people that would know. So it feels weird to me because it's something I've never talked about. So it's still uncomfortable talking about it. I'm speaking about it because she said, like, that's a strength and you can inspire some other people, that they can get up when they're knocked down. And her word was like, what she said to me was like, and I think I said with it, she's like, people call you the David versus Goliath versus Live Nation. She's like, you've been fighting Goliath your whole life. That was her words, not mine. So I took her advice with it, but I'm still uncomfortable speaking about it, to be realistic with you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, man. Like, it's an important thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, and the more you talk about it, the easier it's going to get because you're going to normalize it within yourself. You're going to accept it within yourself, and then it's just going to become part of who you are. So you hid that for so long. How long were you in the hospital? Like, how long did you have to recover before you could actually go back to doing those events? 6 months, a year?
I was in the hospital probably after getting doing brain surgery with internal bleeding in my head, probably for maybe 4 weeks to a month. Then I was back at my mother's house. My mother's awesome. But I was back there because, couldn't really do anything else at the time. I couldn't even really, I had to learn how to walk again, almost tie my shoes and stuff. I went to that rehab center, cancer rehabilitation, and my doctor, Dr. Phelps at the time, I give mad props to. This guy saved my life, at least made my life. And then within 4 months in the rehab, I quit the rehab and said, I'm going to create a club empire, which was my goal. And I wasn't letting it, because all the doctors were telling me it would never happen. I was done,
Mm,
permanently disabled. And being at that time probably 60% blind at the time, that's how I started promoting my parties, working 20 hours a day. And that's how I achieved my success. I didn't let anybody tell me, and that's where I looked at Tupac with it, me
yeah.
against the world. And I said, I'm going to make it happen. And I did, but it was into something I wanted anybody to ever know.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that mentality in a second because I think it's super important. But what what were what were some of the hardest things to get over the injury wise? And do you still have anything to this day, or are you completely recovered?
Nah, I've never been completely recovered. Um, I take medicine, clonazepam, because my hand will shake like this, and I used to be in front of like club owners and stuff, and they'd be like, think I was nervous They're like billionaires. They think I'm nervous, and like because my hand was shaking. You know what I mean? I have to make up some excuse or some bullshit with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it caused me anxiety, panic attacks. I battle with panic attacks ever since then. I still get them every single day. I battle with them ever since that head injury. Um, but yeah, like I put it in the back burner and said, you live with it, you make it, and never talked about it, never complained about it, and just created my career.
There's that mentality again, it's when I was in university my first year. So I'm like 18 years old. I was in Europe for 4 years. I was playing baseball, semi-pro. I played one like in the World Junior Baseball Championships. Went to Rhode Island on a partial scholarship. I only ended up playing 1 year, but while I was there, I befriended a kid who was about 21 or just turned 21, John, and he came from a family of Navy SEALs, and he himself had gone through the whole, boot camp, but then got an injury towards the end of it and then was discharged because I don't know, apparently you can't have an injury in case something flares up during, a mission. But his mindset was insane. And he was the person that taught me that like everything comes to your mind. Everything comes down to your mind, sorry, and that you're missing an arm, you don't stop, you keep going because it could be worse. You could be missing 2 arms. You're missing 2 arms, you keep going. Why? Because it could be worse. You could also be missing a leg. And it's a really hard mentality to get your head around, like to just be perpetually positive. But it sounds like you've had that in you for so long. Is that something you were born with? Did you learn it from your family? Where did that start?
I think it's something I learned from my dad. You know what I mean? I saw my dad, like, he ran a construction business, and we were pretty poor most of my life growing up. My dad passed away when I was a young age. Unfortunately, he's my idol. Um, but I saw, like, he just kept fighting, kept fighting. And he always told me, like, never quit, never give up. And if you're right in something, never quit. And like even in sports at a young age, he taught me to play basketball since I was like 2 years old. I was
Yeah.
using the sports from him and I learned a lot from that. And he told me you never quit, you never give up. And that's one thing you don't do. And that's something I got stuck in me as a kid. And that's something from him. He's my idol and I've always held it down.
Do you have any tips or tricks that help you stay that way? Like when you are in the hospital with a head injury and you're getting all this news from the doctors and you're partially blind and you're never going to walk again, blah blah blah. Like most people, even if they have a strong sense of direction, sense of self, will like shut down, break down, cry, whatever it is. Not everyone can get back up. What motivates you to get back up? How did you do it?
Well, I ain't gonna lie, it was hard. Yeah, it was hard. But I think for me, it was something just like, inspired by my father, like never give up, never quit.
Mhm.
You can do it if you want to do. Never let somebody tell you you can't accomplish something. If you can do it, you can do it. So I think that was just in me, and and then just people telling me no, you can't do it. I think inspired me more.
Mhm.
Multiple doctors all telling me you can't do this, you can't do that. They inspired me more. It put the fight in me to be like, you know what? I'm going to prove all these people wrong. And that's I ended up doing so.
Do you or did you do anything else? Therapy, counseling, exercise, fasting, eating, or is it just like hardcore New Jersey stubbornness? How do you keep going?
What, back in the day?
Yeah, or even now with all this stuff that you have going on.
Well, do you want back in the day or now?
Let's do both.
Back in the day, I went to some therapist, and that shit didn't work out so good because they were basically just telling me all BS that, like, this is how it is. And I wasn't taking that for an answer. So that didn't work. My sister's a neuropsychologist. I ain't talking about therapists. There's some good ones. I ended up having some good ones.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people out there listening. There's a lot of good therapists. Seek it. Um, Now I don't see anybody. I just work, I keep going, don't stop. If you put your foot on the gas and you have a you got a dream, you got motivation or whatever you're motivated about, whoever's listening, if your foot's on the gas and you don't stop, nothing can stop you if you don't stop yourself.
Hell yeah. So it's just you, just constant Tommy D telling Tommy D you are not stopping, keep going.
Well, yeah, I know today a lot's not just about me. To
That's
me, a lot today is about the music scene, about the fans, the real victims of the ticket prices every single day that Michael Rapino and Live Nation want to raise, about the independent artists that are never seen, about the independent promoters that are wiped out. Look, I'm only one person. I'm just an early victim of the Ticketmaster Live Nation merger. There's
mm,
many, many more. The real victims are the people that sit on a queue every single day. Back in the day, I'm pretty sure I used to go to all these concerts. We could travel, get an $85 ticket, go across anywhere now. Now, what? 500 is sitting in nosebleeds,
yeah.
getting ripped off. So that's what inspires me these days is about the fans and about the scene, not myself.
Yeah, I mean the justice behind it, doing what's fair, what's right. Again, very in line with a lot of what Mr. Shakur talked about. I had an experience recently. I mean, I've been lucky to be around the industry for a long time, so I've been going to a lot of shows for a very long time, and oftentimes those shows are at no cost. But I still buy tickets when I can, and I support artists by buying merch. I really think that if I'm going to a show for free, the least I can do is go buy some shirts, CD, hot sauce, whatever they're selling, to support them as much as much directly as possible. Which is a true thing. I've got some hot sauces from shows here. It's fun. Um,
Nice.
I was trying to grab tickets for Nine Inch Nails. There's some shows that are just big and you have to go and you don't want to wait around to see if you can maybe by chance get a free ticket or two. So I'm buying shows here in Vancouver to Nine Inch Nails, and they were, reasonably priced, all things considered, for the band and for the stage production, for inflation. And then I'm online, not even that long after the seats opened up, and all of a sudden this stupid throttle pricing is happening, and I'm, trying to buy 2 for me and my girlfriend, and it was like checking out at 12 to $1,400 Canadian, which is about a grand, I think, US for 2. And that was not in the nosebleeds, but pretty high up in the back. And I was like, what is going on? Like, who even allows this to happen in the first place? It's so messed up that I have to do this in order to see this band that I love. Uh, why aren't there more controls in place? And we'll talk about that a bit more. But when we first chatted, I loved how you were telling me how, this whole thing evolved for you. Like, you got to a point of success and you were about to throw like some massive shows, and then all of a sudden there was like this butting of heads, and it's because you were doing so well in your area. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I was for 15 years after walking out of the hospital, I was one of the biggest EDM and promoters out of New York, definitely out of New Jersey. Um, Running every major club through New York, New Jersey, Miami, winning awards as number one sound system in the world, beating out Amsterdam. I don't know how I did that, but um, and being featured on tons of magazines and publications. I got to my top. And then I moved on to the festival industry, and that's where Live Nation wiped me out of.
So it was during the transition to festivals where it happened?
Yeah, so I hit a plateau. It's like progression of a promoter. I built myself up to the top as large as I could get. Tommy D, my company Tommy D Primetime, I was the largest I could get. I couldn't get any bigger without getting into the festival industry. And
Okay.
also, as we talk about EDM, house music it was called then before it was cool. Since I was involved with it, I saw that it was going to go mainstream. It was going to be the new rock and roll at this time back in like 2010. So that's why I was getting into the festival industry to produce the largest EDM festival in the East Coast that anybody have ever seen. House music.
Yeah. Okay, so before we transition to that, because I want to kind of like linearly lead
Sure.
towards Live Nation, that's a lot of alliteration. Um, those 15 years, you got to that point where you couldn't really expand anymore. What were some of the apex moments? Because I remember you saying that you were working with a few DJs before even those DJs got as big as they are now. So tell me a bit about the shows, the events. You're doing it in multiple clubs. Is this just Wednesday nights still, or do you have more days? What's happening? And tell me,
Yeah, no, I wish it was just as easy as a Wednesday night. I started off on a Wednesday night party, like 96, 97. Yeah, it was 97. Then I was running events, at least 6 nights a week, sometimes 5 parties a night between New York, New Jersey, then even down into Miami. I was booking DJs from Tiesto, before he was even that big. Jonathan Peters, the number one DJ in the world at the time, I had an exclusive deal with. I also did hip hop artists into my EDM parties. I did Fabulous, Kid Cudi. I was huge into developing breaking artists as well. Like Kid Cudi, I think I did his last club show before he went mainstream. You can pretty much name it from Snoop Dogg. I did the Kardashians. I did the Kardashians when they were it was like $5,000, before they were even really popular. Paris Hilton. Um, so I really grew my way in the industry, and I was promoting every major club throughout the New Jersey, New York scene. I speak for hours about it for how many parties and it's anything you want. But all the way up from down the Jersey Shore to Club Karma. Um, you pretty much name it, to legendary clubs as a Sound Factory in New York City. Um, I was packing venues out. If you wanted your club packed and you were a club owner, you called me. You called Tommy D. You called me if you wanted your club packed. And what I did was not just me, it was me and my team. I had a
yeah.
really good team and they worked their ass off. And me and my team, we went out there, passed out flyers 20 hours a day, college campuses. Even when I owned clubs, I still went out with my team when it was negative 10 degrees out. Because I always believed the lead in the front. My dad taught me that when I was a kid because I saw him do it in his construction projects. And
Wow.
I'd be out there handing flyers out car to car, standing outside nightclubs, getting smacked in the face by people drunk or on Jersey juice, smacking you with a flyer. You meanwhile, I'm the person who's running all the parties that they're going to. Because if other people are I never asked anybody to do anything I haven't done or still won't do. So had a lot of success. Ran, you know, almost every major club, almost every celebrity, everything big in New Jersey. Um, Most of it, well, not all of it, a lot. Most of it came through me in my industry.
That's amazing, and good for you, man. Like, I think there's an important lesson there too, where it doesn't matter how high up you get, so to speak, you can still look at things as a flat organization, right? Like, you can be leading a big team and still be doing some of the things that the entry level people, so to speak, are doing. And I like that attitude of I never, you know, passed on work that I haven't done myself. So good for you for having your sleeves rolled up and diving in and doing so much. What
Yeah, I
was the
saw so many people change between being rich and poor. I've been dirt poor, surviving off a toaster oven with a heater with my friend Rat that lived in my apartment with me. Um, I've been rich. I've never changed. So many people, money changes them. That's one thing about me, and something my dad taught me as a kid. Money's never changed me either way.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you have kids or a kid as well?
I got two beautiful boys. I got a 6-year-old Rylan D, that Tommy D, with it, and 11-year-old Robbie D.
I bet
Dorfman,
you
but they rhyme so with my club
yeah,
name.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Pass it on. But I bet you, having them in your life only further bolstered your desire to make sure that justice was seen, to not give up, and to show them how important it is to be tenacious and fight for what's right.
Absolutely. And without the support of my kids, I probably would have thrown in the towel, to be realistic with you. Because like that's my kids, that's my life. They're the world to me more than anything.
Yeah.
And my oldest one, Robbie, he he's supported me for the last few years, younger, but he's always like, Daddy, go get that bad guy. Keep fighting. Don't quit. Go, go, go. I was loving it. And my littlest one, Rylan, um, he's all about it. Last year, he actually picked up a guitar, and at Christmas time, I bought him a guitar, and I didn't even tell him anything. and he went and it's on TikTok, got like quarter of a million views, I think. And he literally just played this song on Christmas. It almost broke my heart. He was like, "Live Nation sucks. Nobody likes them." And I didn't say a word to him. So yeah, my kids inspiring me, and it's other people's kids too. It's not just my kids. They inspire me because people want to like. I want people to have the opportunity that I had to grow and be a successful promoter, artist to be successful like they used to be able to, the smaller ones, and fans and like my kids not to be ripped off or your kids or anybody else's kids to be able to pay affordable ticket prices instead of just a racket scamming them.
Yeah, agreed. So you got a lot of motivation to keep going. Before we get into like, the big stuff, that 15 years, you said you were rich, you were poor, you were kind of all over. How hard or easy was it for you to avoid falling into the lifestyle, the nightclub lifestyle and the late nights, the drugs, the partying? How hard or easy was it for you to just stay kind of straight through all of that, steer clear?
Yeah, great question. One thing, and most people never believe it in my life, the one thing I never did was any drugs. I don't know. My dad installed that in me at a young age. And I guess the kids I grew up with in high school, my friends, my crew, for some reason, they didn't do any drugs. So I never did any. I've only smoked, I haven't done anything except smoke weed a few times in my life. Definitely with Snoop Dogg at my birthday party. Got so paranoid. That was bad. Woof. But I've only probably smoked weed maybe 3 times. I don't like 'cause I'm paranoid, but people smoke weed, it's good, no complaints. But I never did any other drugs in my whole life, actually. So I would party, drink with my clientele. It's part of the business, it's part of the industry. But drugs, that's something I stayed off.
And it was just because that's how you grew up? I mean, so many people fall, victim to temptation or being encouraged to do so. How did how did you avoid it? What's your trick?
Wasn't really a trick. I just literally just like watch people and you would see like a promoter just like blowing 10,000 lines and all of a sudden he's out of the industry.
Mhm.
Um, Watching people do some crazy shit, overdose and die, you know what I mean? So to me, it was just don't touch that shit. And I guess it would come from my dad and again a crew. Luckily, I grew up with that. Just we partied a lot, we drank a lot, we threw house parties, we went out to the city, we did crazy shit, but we
Yeah,
didn't, I guess I was lucky enough with that. So I stayed away from it. I never touched it.
nice. I'm happy you brought up Snoop Dogg because I saw the photo online of you at a party, obviously hanging with him. So how did that happen? How did you, Tommy D and Snoop D get together on your birthday?
That was my birthday party. So Snoop Dogg came there for my birthday party. Then at the time, I don't know if you know Joel Santana. Joel Santana was a boy that we were boys. He had I did one of his first like shows at one of my clubs. And like into the mainstream market. At a EDM club. I'm throwing hip hop artists. That's what I did. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Joel showed up, did my birthday party for free. I actually had Ja Rule show up at the door and he asked if he could come perform. So I had to go ask Snoop and Joel's if Ja Rule was allowed to perform. They let him go on the stage and perform. So
That sounds like a wild birthday. So you got, you're a good man, you're staying clean, you've got family, you got kids, you've got this mentality where you never quit, you keep going. You're focused on, your business and what's right. Um, do you have a lot of artists supporting your campaign right now? Do you have a lot of people behind you as well? Is it hard to drum up that support?
well, I don't have many artists supporting me. I don't think any. Um, but I can't blame them because they're relying upon Live Nation. There's no entertainment industry. It's just a Live Nation entertainment industry, Live Nation entertainment industry. So the artists behind the scenes, some can support me, but they can't publicly out speak and support me because they won't have a show. No show for you, you know?
Yeah.
So I never blame any of the artists for that. And I never even ask for the support for that reason. Because I want them to earn a living. Even if they're getting robbed by which I allege Live Nation's robbing their money every day, um, from the information I have. If they're making $1,000 or $100, it's better than making nothing. So I never blame the artist.
So you have no ill will because you want them to do well for themselves. You don't want to, take bread out of their own mouth, so to speak. And yeah, I mean, you just keep going. That's a tough one, right? Not everyone will feel that way. Some people be like, "Oh, you're not helping me. You're not supporting me. If you're not with me, you're against me," type thing. You don't feel that way.
No, not at all. Because if you're in that industry and you don't bow and kiss the ring of the CEO of Live Nation, Micah Rapino, and you don't do what Live Nation tells you what to do, what show to play at, you're not in the business. It's how it is. So if they're gonna come out publicly and speak, I support Tommy D trying to bring down your company. They're obviously, I don't want them to be out like I was. I ended up
Yeah,
homeless again. Do I want that to happen to somebody else because of what? No, I
yeah,
saw Kid Rock recently came out speaking out against Live Nation. I know he's got some support in the administration, but that's cool. I was super jacked to see Kid Rock actually coming out and speaking against Live Nation. He's not a friend of mine, but I don't know him. But I'm just saying, I was glad he did.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you could use all the support you can get when it comes to something this big. So I'm happy that we kind of set up who you are and your story is it's so fascinating and I love meeting people like you who have endured so much and still come out the other end and now we can kind of segue into this legal battle, this monstrous case going on. So you said that it was like the expansion into festivals which kind of led to it. So what happened? What was the move that you made that officially was like on their radar and now they're coming after you?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to put this out to Chris. I didn't even know who Live Nation was. I think I knew they did rock and roll, but they were never in my industry for 15 years. So I never
Mm,
met them once. I never talked to them once. I never dealt with them once. So there was the State Fair Meadowlands in New Jersey, in New York. If anybody's familiar with the Jets and Giants, it was the new $2 billion stadium where I was going to put on my festivals. The State Fair Meadowlands is the largest state fair in the tri-state area. It does over 500,000 attendees each year, hundreds and hundreds of rides. They were created a massive concert space to come in for concerts and festivals. I made an exclusive agreement with them for over 4 weeks every year to produce all concerts and all festivals in the concert event space um, for 10 plus years. My start off to it was the music industry that I came from because I had thrown Latin parties at this time. I'd thrown hip hop. I've done it all, but EDM was my passion and that was my biggest success and background. So my start off was a huge EDM festival where I was going to put the largest EDM festival on the East Coast that anybody has ever seen. With all the rides, everything was set up. I had a turnkey operation. The State Fair Meadowlands had the box offices, they had the staging, they had the security. I had everything. All I needed was my stages and just my talent. I had the stages set up. And then the company Live Nation found out about it, um, wanted it, and wiped me out from it.
So how does that even happen? You got a contract in place, you're starting to set everything up. What's your suspicion about how that whole event, I guess, didn't why it ceased to be, why it didn't happen, why it didn't materialize?
Yeah, it really wasn't just a suspicion. It was the owner of the State Fair Meadowlands. His name is Al Dorso, really good guy. He gave me this opportunity. He actually stuck with me battling against Live Nation for a while because he said I was a hustler and I was a grinder. He reminded me himself as when he was younger. So much respect for him. He had we had millions of dollars out to William Morris Agency, Tiesto, all these artists. Some of the hugest talent agencies in the world were trying to partner with us on this festival. Were trying to come aboard with us and wanted to partner because they thought the concept was so amazing. Artists, we were at getting point where the artists were getting their flights. That's what we were getting at. Al Dorso had called me up and said, "Boys, what the fuck you doing?" I remember this phone call. It was like February 16th or 18th of 2011. I'll never forget it. Nicest guy, snapping like crazy. So Live Nation was just met with them. and that they're pissed off. They want this EDM festival. They're gonna block Tiesto. They're gonna block all my talent from all the talent agencies unless I allow them to be a partner in the show. And they're gonna block my talent, my tickets from Ticketmaster, which I had no clue at the time. I didn't know what the dude was talking about. I was gonna block my tickets because I didn't know they had merged. Um, and he recommended we. He was very upset. He said they were bad mouthing us to the New Jersey Sports Authority, which is his landlord, the Meadowlands, to the powers that can be, flinging his name around everywhere, saying we're thieves, robbers. Um, and he asked us to meet with Live Nation because they said they're blocking the whole entire festival.
So they're blocking the festival just because they're putting pressure on the authority that your boss, I guess, replies to or is under at that time?
The State Fair Meadowlands, Al
Yeah,
Dorso, massive amount of pressure on him, massive amount of pressure to the Sports Authority, the owner of the Meadowlands, where Live Nation
right.
put a lot of concerts on. And they told him, quite frankly, point blank, they are not allowing any of that talent that I have millions of dollars offers to perform, or they will block all their dates worldwide. Um, so he asked me to set up a meeting with them, asked us to set up a meeting with Live Nation to see if we could partner with them. Because without a partnership, he said they were just goodbye, killing the whole thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't even know Live Nation at that time was big enough to be able to, like, have that amount of pull or sway. It sounds like they saw how big this opportunity was and said, "We're not gonna let someone else lead this. We want this opportunity for ourselves." Do you feel that's accurate?
Yeah, so I didn't look again, I didn't deal with Live Nation. I just knew they did rock and roll stuff and kid stuff and never in my genre of music. Never bothered me. I never bothered them, never dealt with them. I did see around that time though, after this had happened, their CEO Michael Rapino had put out in media outlets EDM, as I predicted. I was a pioneer of this. Me and my team, we were pioneers of this industry.
Yeah.
Saw that this house music EDM was gonna go mainstream. It's gonna be the new rock and roll. And he put out in media articles, their Live Nation strategy was to acquire or hire any major EDM promoters. And his fear was that Live Nation, Michael Rapino's fear, was Live Nation was behind the eight ball, behind the game with EDM, and that lesser known organizations were going to lock up festival spaces. And they needed to either acquire, hire them, or get those spaces first. I was the one that wasn't acquired or hired, refused their buyout, and that's why I was wiped out.
So you, met with them? And
Yes,
when
I met with their two top executives at the Live Nation New York City.
and that was for the conversation about, acquire or hire, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it was the conversation about them blocking the whole entire festival that they had with the State Fair Meadowlands owner, Al Dorso.
So they were going to acquire or hire, sorry, only after they strong-armed the situation and locked you in kind of to having to make a decision?
Yeah, so we went to Live Nation headquarters, met with their VP of talent, became president of talent, Jason Miller, and their VP of talent, John D'Esposito. And at the time, Mike Rapino claims that this is their largest market in the United States. When we walked in the door, um, I was trying to like maybe give them some kids events or something to do to leave us alone or let them put a rock and roll show on. As soon as we walk in, it's EDM. It's EDM. We're partners in the EDM festival, or you're out. There's loopholes in your contract. We'll kick you out anytime. They came in aggressive, like I say wild animals, that's a nice word. They're like savage Viking beasts. They came in, pit bulls, going crazy. We're gonna kick you out. We're gonna kick you out through the state fair. The Sports Authority, we own the Meadowlands. That's our space. We're kicking you the fuck out. Tiesto, we're blocking his dates worldwide if he performs for you. William Morris Agency, the largest, just so you know, at the time, this was the largest talent agency in my genre of music, which we had millions of dollars, which doesn't seem like nothing now. But back then, $1 million in offers is like 10 million today
Mhm.
in my industry. They said that's our exclusive agency. We will not allow any premium talent to perform for you unless you do one thing, partner with us.
Right.
Now they told me to kick out my 2 partners, Vito Bruno and John DiMatteo. Vito Bruno was a legendary promoter out of New York City, and I had a handshake deal with these guys at the time. Handshake deal to produce the festival, but they were working hard on it. Um, and my dad taught me one thing as a kid. I remember back when I was a kid, I would see my dad make handshake deals with people. He was in construction, paving driveways, you name it. And years later, after my dad passed, I'd run into people and they'd be like, yo, your dad was the most honest person I met. Like I had a deal of like $60,000. He shook my hand on it. He could have just beat me on all that money. You know what? He paid me every single time. So when they told me I had to kick out these my partners who had done nothing wrong because they wanted 50% of the festival, didn't want any less than that, and that wouldn't have worked with the partners, and they would fund the whole thing. I told them, you know, fuck you, plain and simple.
Yeah. So you're an honorable man, you're bondable, you got a handshake deal with some buddies that are also equally hardworking, and you're like, no, no deal. This is not going to happen. So they're upset because they couldn't buy or acquire you or hire you, so to speak. Uh, did you not want to negotiate with them? Did they not like allow a negotiation to happen? Was it just like this is the offer, take it or leave it? What kind of happened next?
I wish the conversation was as nice as we're having right now. It was so crazy. Their one executive, John D'Esposito, was sitting there going, I'll fucking knock you out. There's loopholes in your contract. I'll kick you out any fucking time. The loopholes, Chris, where I needed to secure talent before certain dates in my contract, which I allege and I will prove at trial that they stopped me from doing so. And then they brought up Ticketmaster. So we're going to block all your tickets from Ticketmaster
Mhm.
after I was defending my partners, saying, look, my partners produce these massive festivals. My one partner did concerts over 30,000 people, KTU Beatstock, since 1997, 2010. And they were trying to tell me he never even put on a show. This guy was a legend. He was like John Travolta, I think, played him on like that Saturday Night Fever thing, back in the day.
Sick.
Um, but they told me they block all the tickets from Ticketmaster. And I was like, how are you going to block tickets from Ticketmaster? I've done tickets with Ticketmaster all the time. Like, we own them. I thought they were bullshitting until I went outside the office and did a Google search and realized that Live Nation had acquired Ticketmaster just a few months before. That's why I say I'm one of the first victims. There may have been more before me, and there's been many more, and there's many more fans every single day of the
Yeah.
Live Nation Ticketmaster merger.
I mean, it's not like a conspiracy or unknown that they're buying up stuff everywhere, whether it's Toronto or Vancouver or the US or overseas, they're buying up venues, they're buying up a whole bunch of different stuff. And that's just how businesses happen sometimes. You acquire or hire, and they've continued to grow. What's unfair is that there's no market competition. Competition leads to innovation, right? And it leads to something that's good for the consumer. Um, so you're in this situation now where you're kind of stuck and you don't want to accept the offer that's on the table. What happens next? How do they wipe you out?
Well, it wasn't just an offer on the table. It's basically like I've had the mob put a gun in my mouth. It was basically a gun in your mouth. It wasn't an offer. It was just a threat with a gun in your mouth, not a real gun. Um, but same thing. You take this or leave it. That's it. If not, all your talent's blocked. You won't get ticketing. We'll get you kicked out, and you're done and you're wiped out. I didn't take the deal. Um, Went through a lot of threats and very aggressive, like animals, like I said, and and all these talent agencies that were talking to us every day, booking it, they didn't even pick up the phone anymore. All the talent disappeared. Um, they f- they followed through with their threats. I'll prove it at trial. I have the top executives tape recorded on different meetings after confessing to this. Um, and I was wiped out of my festival because I couldn't produce the talent to do so, thanks to due to Live Nation.
Yeah. Well, what about some of the existing club business? Because you did a lot of work to get to the festival stuff. Could you have just left the festival stuff alone and then continue with just the club scene that you already had, or did they start to do, wipe out everything else?
Yeah, so I don't think Live Nation was used to anybody ever standing up to them like me. So I think they wanted to make a lesson out of me. The way I see it, at least now, looking back. Because I was nominated as they wiped me out of my festival industry, got knocked out really hard, hard hit. Um, then I was nominated the number one promoter um, in New Jersey by the New Jersey Star Ledger, and I intend to prove a trial that and I will prove a trial that Live Nation had my name removed. So they were bad mouthing me to the sports authority, to the town agencies. I alleged they did it, um, all across the board, and it ruined my reputation, ruined my whole entire career. Agents didn't pick up, clubs didn't pick up, and that was it. I got wiped out of the scene over 15 years of hard work over doing the right thing. At least I see it.
Yeah.
Some people
That
say I'm stupid. I don't regret what I did.
Yeah, man, that's the thing, right? Is bow or bend or stand your ground. I think that you had morals, you have morals, I should say. You've been taught along the way by your father and other people, and you weren't going to screw other people in order to do something that benefits you. Not unlike, other people that you and I might love. Unfortunately, not everyone's like that. A lot of people are about themselves. A lot of people are about the bottom line, and they don't care who they have to step over to get there. Why is this lawsuit so long? Like, why have you been doing this for over 10 years now?
Well, it's like 15 years, but good question. Starting off in the litigation, Live Nation has a great strategy. It's delay, confusion, pressure. Live Nation was ordered by a federal magistrate judge, Judge Mannion, who was very fair, to turn over documents within 30 days. Live Nation never appealed that. Live Nation never turned over those documents. My lawyers went back to court for maybe 3 to 4 years asking for the documents and discovery that we were entitled to. Um, my lawyer at the time even sent a letter to the court saying we knew we were like overstaying our welcome with the court by going back and asking so many times. Um, we only got 5% of the discovery we were entitled to. We ran out of money. So we couldn't fight for the discovery anymore. So Live Nation has a strategy.
Right.
It's delay, 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 and it works. And the reason I've only spoke in this last year, you never heard of me before. Um, I didn't say a peep. It's quiet. Was because I had a firm trial date, and then Live Nation then said they wanted another 15th mediation, which I didn't want, and that delaying's working. And my witnesses are starting to get old through old age. We're not we come from the club world. You talked about partying. At least I didn't party like that. I don't know about the other ones, but a lot of people party, like you said.
Yeah.
Some people age a lot quicker. My biggest supporter, a big supporter of mine, Congressman Pascrell, who had found an expert report of mine and shared it to the Department of Justice, the Senate, the FTC, that was suppressed by Live Nation Entertainment's lawyers Greenberg Troy, and accidentally uploaded on Pacer. He had, unfortunately, God bless him, he had passed away last year, and he had been fighting Live Nation, as I looked later on, a little longer than I was since their
Right.
merger.
I mean, that's what happens when you have hugely deep pockets, right? You can afford lawyers, you can afford time because no one else can. So you're just gonna outlast them and keep going. What I don't understand is, and I don't want to open up a conversation about like, the justice system and stuff like that, because I think globally there's issues everywhere with a lot of these different systems and people in power. But how is it possible that, a company is given 30 days to produce a whole bunch of information? It's literally handed down from the judge, and then they just don't do it. How is there no repercussion to that? Why are they able to just not do something?
Because Live Nation and their CEO, I believe they just think they're above the law. And they have so much power, they continue to get away with it. If you look in recent times, with the DOJ found the lawsuit against Live Nation, the FTC found a lawsuit against Live Nation, the COVID funds potentially racketeering um, against potentially the CEO and the board of directors of Live Nation. You still have the Live Nation CEO have the balls to get on national TV and say, let's raise ticket prices. They're too low.
Yeah.
So it just shows pure power. That's just what it is. It's just pure power. Um, I respect the justice system. I respect, the courts are busy. Um, but I guess if I would have did this to Live Nation and they own, it was at the Meadowlands and they're owning the Meadowlands with the stadium rust there for 15 years, I'm pretty sure I'd be in court. Even whatever I say right now on this podcast, they'll get me in a court within a year if they like.
Yeah.
So that's what just pure power does. It's pure power and pure money.
So you're gonna go down fighting no matter what. You're not gonna give this up.
No, I'm taking it all away. We're going to jury trial.
Good for you.
And
I
that'll
know.
be their first jury trial since they merged with Live Nation and Ticketmaster. And again, I'm one of the first victims, but there's victims of the fans every single day that are in those queue lines and then just hitting a button like you were, and all of a sudden it's $800 for a fucking nosebleed.
Yeah. I mean, once there's momentum, once people start speaking up, I genuinely believe that more and more people, will then speak out. It happens. It's really hard to speak out against something, especially when your livelihood's on the line. But once there's a domino or two that falls, it gets easier to then jump on that bandwagon. So I'm hoping that you're going to start to get more and more people that, support your case. Um, what's next for you? Like, how do you go from here? I know that the date was pushed back. What do you have to do to prep for it? Is there a risk that the date gets pushed again? Talk to me about what's next in the trial.
Yeah, so it was the date was last month um for oral arguments. Now the date is November 18th, 2 p.m. New Jersey Federal Court, 50 Walnut Street, Martin Luther King Building. Ask anybody that wants lower ticket prices of sport to come up and to come to the court and support. Um, that's the next step. Those oral arguments where Live Nation's trying to knock out, after 15 years, 497 of 500 exhibits, which are all their own internal documents. Um, and then the next step is going to be hopefully a jury trial that I've been waiting for. And, you know, people look at me as the victim, and I get it. I am. But the information that I have, I believe, I know, if exposed at a jury trial, ticket prices, this might sound crazy, but I have the cookbooks of Live Nation to say so, will drop 30 to 40% within one day in the United
Wow.
States.
That's
If it's
that's
if that evidence is allowed to be put out and that evidence is exposed to a jury, they will drop 30 to 40% in within one day. And I don't say that lightly.
yeah. Was there you mentioned the DOJ and investigations into Live Nation. Was that something that was already there before this current administration? Is that new? When did that start?
That started with the Biden administration, which I respect them for doing so, and it continued with the Trump administration, which I respect and have full hopes in the administration doing the right thing and breaking up this company. And it needs more than to just be broken up, if you ask me. It
Yeah.
needs to be split in as many pieces. I'm calling for a full shutdown of Live Nation, a full shutdown, because to me this is the Enron in the entertainment industry. I have the receipts. It's just a racket, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just it's a racket, and I got the information that I believe I know um, that I could prove and show that their business is a criminal conspiracy.
Well, it's nice to hear that it's got support from multiple administrations and that this is something that is not a one-sided issue that just touches everyone that loves going to concerts and wants things to be done fairly and justly for fans, for concert promoters alike. Um, I really hope that things go well for you. How can people support you? Do you have a GoFundMe online? Are there different areas where people can contribute to your causes or share the information?
Yeah, and first I just want to go back to what you were saying about two administrations. There's nothing bipartisan in the United States right now. We have a government shutdown. But you know what? There's I think 40 something states, Republican, Democrat, it seems to be a universal support of one thing the
Uh,
U.S. government can agree on at this time, at least, is stopping Live Nation Ticketmaster what they're doing. To answer your thing right there, no, I do not have any GoFundMe. My website is TommyD at JuiceEntertainment.com. TommyD at JuiceEntertainment.com. I ask anybody to that wants lower ticket prices, wants a fair scene for independent promoters, wants artists to be able to be developed as they're destroyed by Live Nation right now, to support me, share my stuff on socials. And if you're from the States, on November 18th, 2 p.m., Martin Luther King Building, 50 Walnut Street, Newark, New Jersey. Show up at the court. Want lower ticket prices? Show up and voice your support. That's all I ask for is just support.
I'm hopeful, man. I've seen, we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of similarities between Live Nation and what's happening and the record industry. I've been in and around the record industry for a long time as well. And with technology advancing and artists being able to stay independent longer and people helping them along the path in positive ways, we've seen a change where the gatekeepers are not always the same now. In fact, some of the gatekeepers don't have the same control because people can do things independently. Doesn't mean that you don't get, approached, but there is hope. Do you have any hope for, a future where people, artists, promoters can do stuff independent of the Live Nations where, you and I can just go back to doing house parties and then, warehouse parties or whatever it is and doing it ourselves, doing it with the tech that's available to us and skirting the system. Because ultimately we vote with our dollars, right? Consumers always vote with their dollars. And if we can find ways for them to enjoy these things in different manners, then maybe you take the power away from the old system.
So I respect what you're saying. However, I don't feel like people can vote with their dollars due to the fact that Live Nation is the entertainment industry society. If you don't go to concerts, you don't go to Ticketmaster, they don't every ticket everywhere in sporting events. You don't go to Disney on Ice. You're just locked out of society. People told me to protest them. You can't protest them. I would never ask anybody to do so. So
Mhm.
voting with the dollars would be locked out of society. However, people can make change and it can start, and I'm hoping to do so. Where the change comes from, Live Nation gets a lot of money from lobbyists, a lot of money, and they pay a lot. I mean, they pay a lot of money to lobbyists. They're increasing it every day, increasing that money. But you know where people can make change? I don't expect artists to speak up because they need to make a career. Independent promoters, you know what? Bow to Live Nation or get out of the scene because you have no other choice. But I do see a chance for a vibrant scene, and it is through government action. Now, guess who votes? We do. You do. The fans do. So if you go out and you protest, not shows, but you go protest in front of your governor's mansion, you protest in front of your senators, you call your senator, you call your congressman, you send letters to the White House. You then stand out, come support at a courtroom like mine and other people's. It's not, I'm just one person that are fighting Live Nation. You vote. You vote these politicians into office. And if
Mhm.
these politicians care about fans that are being ripped off every single day, um, guess what? They should do the right thing, break this company up, shut this company down, and allow a vibrant scene. Allow independent promoters to thrive again. That's why the club scene is dead, because there's no independent promoters. Live Nation bought them all, acquired them all, or owns them all. Allow independent artists to thrive with these independent promoters. How nice is it when you can pick what show I can perform for, how much money the costs are, not being told you're forced to do this. It'll bring artist development, it'll bring independent promoters, it'll bring creativity, it'll bring a scene back again. And it'll bring ticket prices down. But what to do so? My only advice to anybody out there who wants to do it is protest to your government, protest to your politicians, and let them know you vote. And you vote them in office or you vote them out of office. If you're passionate enough about it, um, not one person, but a whole team, can make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, but I think you're right. This is my ignorance with, club promotion and events and whatnot, because I don't know. I haven't done that. It's not been part of my journey. Um, can you not, or can one not now in New Jersey, for example, just throw an independent show where you have a bunch of independent, let's say you got 3 or 4 or 5 independent artists. They're not signed to majors, to any labels for that matter, and they're like, "Hey, Tommy D, let's throw an amazing show with all these 5 bands." Can that not be done currently?
You could do that show. Most of the clubs have closed down because indie promoters have been all bit acquired or gone. But you can do that show. But as soon as those artists just get a little bit bigger, Live Nation's gonna take them. And now they're gonna be owned by Michael Rapino and Live Nation Entertainment. And then an independent promoter, as they would normally grow with the artist, they're done. And then those artists will be run a stadium tour. And just who's gonna, if you're that independent promoter, why are you gonna go out and try to put on a show in the very few clubs that are left because Live Nation's killed the whole club industry? Really
Well,
no reason to.
in your opinion, what happens if those artists just say, "Nah, we're gonna stay independent. We're not interested." What
How
happens
many
then?
artists? So if you're an artist and you're said, great, you're playing small little dinky club called Dink Club. And now we're going to build you up and put you in an amphitheater. And then we're going to put you into MetLife Stadium. How many artists are going to actually say, no,
Yeah.
you come from that industry? I don't blame the artists. You're an artist. Your dream is to be playing those stadiums. So the artists aren't going to say no. And I wouldn't even ask them to say no because they want to, that's their goals and their dreams. And their dreams shouldn't be taken away because they want to stand up to a monopoly. You know what I mean?
What if
That's
some
my
of
take.
the what if some of the owners of these larger stadiums, larger venues, um, that aren't necessarily, working with companies like Live Nation just start to do their own events, their own promotion, and give, these artists a place to do events and obviously charge and do all that stuff, but what if they empower them to do more events like that? Is it not that easy?
So it's a great idea, but find me one worldwide stadium tour where it's not involved Live Nation Ticketmaster. There isn't any. So that to answer your question is you can't. You
Yeah, no,
can't
I
do it.
agree from a touring, like a global touring perspective. I totally agree. I just thought maybe like, we start with a show, start with club shows, start with stadium shows. Once you get more people that own these venues involved, then it's easier to tie them all together in terms of some kind of a tour.
Well, the problem with the venues, a lot of them aren't even just owned by Live Nation, but Live Nation is running Ticketmasters involved.
Mm,
Now, Ticketmaster and Live Nation, when they merged and they told the United States Senate that they were going to be two separate entities, they're not. They're one. And I got the receipts that show it. They work hand in hand together. All your data, all your information, and then the biggest thing, rebates, as I've talked about through my expert report. So these venues, if it's they use Ticketmaster, um, they are forced then to work with Live Nation, and then Ticketmaster is their enforcer and it passes on these rebate costs that Live Nation takes that the promoters don't know about, the artists don't know about, and gets it kicked back through the venue, and the venue doesn't want to pay it, but the venue's stuck. You don't put on a show, you don't give us these kickbacks, no show for you. Because some
mm.
of these are state-owned venues. Wow, why would a state-owned venue do it? Because they need to fill the seats. So I don't blame them either. So it's a great idea, but it won't work, unfortunately.
Hey man, that's fair. Uh, Last question. Your case seems to be significant and, it's kind of first of its kind, as you alluded to. DOJ has their own case. There's other ones that are involved in Live Nation, Ticketmaster. Do you work with them at all? Is there an opportunity to work with them? Should, people be working together to get a better result? How does it happen?
Should people be working together? I would say yes.
So how does your
Um,
case maybe get on the radar of the DOJ's case?
Well, my case, I believe, is so important to the DOJ's case. Um, I get my trial date and I have a trial. All the information used in my case, and I've looked at the DOJ's case, and it's good. But respectfully, my complaint from almost 15 years ago almost mirrors the DOJ complaint. I have a lot of information and I have a lot of evidence that Live Nation is trying to stop, put out, and comes out at my trial. I believe would be very, very helpful to the Department of Justice and the FTC's lawsuit against Live Nation, which is then usable and would be admissible then at their trials, which I believe would be very helpful to the Department of Justice.
All right. All right. I see what's going on. Tommy D, I don't envy the position you're in, but I do applaud you for staying in there and fighting. It's not an easy thing to do, and most people probably would have already walked away.
Well, thanks. And it's again, it's just I'm only one victim. There's a lot of victims, and there's victims every single day, promoters, artists, and most importantly, the fans. And that's what I'm sticking up for right now.
You're doing it for the people.
For the people, Live Nation's made they look at two societies, rich and poor. Live Nation's making a huge gap, way worse than it is anywhere in any other industry. And their own inflation. Live Nation inflation.